Want to know how to get infinite belly? Or what the absolute best way to find fruits is? These are 187 amazing Blox fruits facts I bet you didn't know. The most obvious but least visited place in the first sea is definitely the Dark Step teacher. He can be found on the Pirate Island, and all you need to do is walk through this wall or jump over it. But who wants a Dark Step anyways? Desert Island is another island full of secret locations, and if you pick up this chest, you'll find a secret tunnel. Just kidding. Everybody knows about Hassan. This secret location is a house with red doors. You can walk inside and you'll be greeted. This is a really good hiding spot, however, and this house is actually a part of the Saber Expert puzzle. Next up, we have the best location for server hopping. I'm obviously talking about the temple located on the upper skylands in the first sea. You just need to break this wall and collect 8 golden chests, and you'll get an easy 8k belly. Another hidden location that's a part of upgrading your dark blade is the admin house located in the middle town. This one right here. Whoops, actually it's this one. Inside, you'll find an NPC called Robot Mega, who starts the Sun Quest for Darkblade V2, and an aura editor that lets you change the stage of your aura. If you just got to the second sea and want some extra cash, you should definitely rush to this bridge with pink stairs and find a discolored part of the wall. Then just break it and go inside to get around 10,000 belly. And while this doesn't sound like that much, you can literally server hop this and make around 1,000,000 belly per hour. Okay, maybe I'm exaggerating slightly, but this is still really useful. Death King is an NPC that exchanges players' bones for different random items. But before update 22, you were able to find Death King in the first and second sea, but now he got removed from those, so you can only find him in the third sea in the graveyard on the haunted castle. Many of you may be wondering why your ally menu button is glitched. Well, it's not actually glitched. That button was removed in update 22, and you're no longer able to ally with another marine. The next thing that got removed but no one noticed is a feature that let players give 2 game passes in one trade. And I'm guessing no one noticed this got removed because, well, who in the world would give out 2 game passes? Before update 21, there was a glitch players exploited a lot, but only those who knew about it. Before this update, raid bosses used to give double rewards if the player had double XP turned on. Swan is one of the best bosses to server hop in the first sea, as well as the island he's on, because on Prison Island there are not 1, not 2, but 3 bosses. We've got Warden, Chief Warden, and Swan. Warden will get you 6k belly. After killing Chief Warden, you'll get 10,000 belly, and after killing Swan, you'll get 15,000 belly. That's 31,000 belly combined you could make every 3 minutes, which is equal to 620,000 belly per hour. You just have to keep server hopping these and hoping all 3 of them will be there. Swan is your most important boss because he alone will get you 15,000 belly, as well as the chance to get his pink coat. This accessory gives you 200 HP and 10% increase on gun damage. But who even uses guns anymore? Swan spawns every 30 minutes, but make sure to prepare for him because he uses both unawakened and awakened versions of spider fruit. Swan is literally the best boss in the first sea to server hop, and if you server hop him for an hour, along with the 620,000 belly, you'll probably get that pink coat too. Did you know that light fruit can save you weeks in the first sea? Light fruit is the best fruit for the first sea because even when unawakened, it's the best grinding fruit in the whole first sea. It's got a great set of moves, and most importantly, it's elemental, which means the NPCs won't be able to damage you at all if you're just a few levels above them. Besides that, light fruit will allow you to travel way faster and save a bunch of time because of its F move. The fastest way to get a light fruit is from Blox Fruit Gacha, with just a little bit of luck. So get to level 50 as soon as possible and make sure to join the game every 2 hours to roll a fruit. If you want to run as fast as possible, you must get a pilot helmet as soon as you get the chance. Pilot helmet is an accessory that makes you move around 130% faster, and on top of that gives you plus 250 health and energy and 10% faster health regeneration. This is extremely helpful, especially when you get to the second sea, where islands are much larger compared to the islands in the first sea. When you first get into the game, don't waste your time killing NPCs on the starter island. Instead, go to the Fountain Island, where you can use a wall to kill NPCs that are level 625. Just a few of these will get you to level 50 and make you able to roll a fruit. You'd be surprised at how many players reach the second sea but never got to kill the mob leader in the first sea. Mob leader is an NPC located on a tiny island near Magma Village. He's part of the Saber quest, and unfortunately he doesn't drop anything valuable. The worst possible thing you can miss in Blox fruits is a spawn fruit on the ground. This has happened to me 1,000,000 times. I'll be doing something on one island, then go to another island just to realize I saw a fruit on the island I was on but forgot to pick it up. I once even missed a leopard fruit. I've cried about that one for a week. Saber puzzle is the quest you need to complete in order to obtain saber fruit. This quest takes place in the first sea, and it's really interesting. However, very few people end up completing this quest, which will lead you to the frozen village. Once you're there, find the cave where the ability teacher is, and stand under this stalactite. Wait until you get a drop from it, then go to the sick man NPC, who will direct you to the pirate village. Once you're there, find the rich man man, who will give you the ancient relic. Take this to the stone building where Blox Fruits Gacha is, and you'll reach the final step of the puzzle. I'm not gonna tell you what comes after though. You need to go find out. Jide is definitely one of the most favorable swords because of its combo potential and its amazing X moves. Jide can be obtained after defeating Smoke Admiral, who is located in a stone building on the hot side of Hot and Cold in the second sea, and I highly suggest you do that. Longsword is the most basic looking sword I've seen in any game ever. However, it's decent for farming because all moves are area of effect. This sword can be obtained after defeating Diamond in the second sea with a 10% drop chance. The next sword is really underrated, and it's not actually a sword. It's a freaking pipe. The pipe deals decent damage, but it works really well in PvP. It can be bought from the sword dealer of the East, who is located at the frozen village in the first sea, for only 100,000 belly. Soul Cane is a sword that looks more like an umbrella handle than a soul cane. This sword can be bought from the living skeleton for 750,000 belly, and if you're a beginner, I'd suggest you get it, because it's known for its massive stun and decent damage as well. Onto the Trident, which has faster attack speed compared to most swords you're able to obtain in the first sea. It can be obtained after defeating the Fishman Lord, who is the most annoying boss to kill in the first sea. Did you know that the first accessory 90% of players get is a black cape? Considering it's the easiest accessory to get, you'd think it'd be bad, but it's actually great. Black cape is a rare accessory you can buy from Parlous, who's located in Marine Fortress in the first sea. It costs 50,000 belly, and the only requirement to buy it is to be level 50. This accessory gives you plus 100 health and energy, and 5% more damage on anything, whether it's a fruit or a sword. Subscribe if this was your first accessory. Moving on to the next accessory, which is also obtained at the Marine Fortress. We've got the coat. This coat is Vice Admiral's favorite piece of clothing, and with some luck, you might get it after killing him. This accessory gives you plus 200 energy and 10% on melee attacks. This is a great accessory for players who primarily use fighting styles. Is there anything cooler in Blox Fruits than Cool Shades? I don't think so. Cool Shades are the accessory you have a chance of obtaining upon killing Cyborg, the last boss in the first sea located at Fountain Island. This accessory gives you plus 100 health and energy, 7.5% damage on any attack, and 17.5% faster running speed. Safe to say this is the best accessory you can get in the first sea. And the last accessory from the first sea that's worth mentioning are Tomio Rings. This accessory can be bought from Yoshi at the second island of Skylands, and it gives you 10% more damage on fruit attacks. This is a great accessory for players who primarily use fruits, but it's pretty expensive, costing 500,000 belly, at least compared to other similar accessories. How fast can you complete the first sea in Blox Fruits? This was another record Kick Gaming decided to go for, and he set out to defeat the previous record of 4 minutes and 1 second. And after a few attempts, Kick Gaming managed to defeat every single boss in the first sea in just 3 minutes and 45 seconds, beating the record with a whole 16 seconds to spare. For a world record, that's a crazy difference. Some titles are extremely hard to get in Blox Fruits, and chances are you don't even have half of them. But what's the most someone has actually gotten on one account? Kaido's Play spent a whole month, yes that's right, literally an entire month, collecting as many titles as possible, using various milestones in the game, codes, and purchases. And by the end of it, he managed to get 176 titles, which at the time of his recording, was every single obtainable title in the game. But of course, since there is a limit to this record's definitely tied several ways. Getting range kills in Blox Fruits is usually quite difficult, but this record from Ashi shows a method to gain a literally unbeatable record. He found out that there was a bug with the Gamma Rush ability, and if you left the ability circle while still holding the button down, you could trigger the ability from anywhere you want, which allows you to get a kill from some insane distances. After performing the bug, you just get a friend to drive you to the other end of the map to set up a crazy kill like this. And since this bug allows you to get a kill at literally any distance, this record is completely unbeatable, as the possible distance you can do this from is infinite. Next up, we have a secret passage behind the waterfall located on Hydra Island. And no, not this one. Everyone knows about this hallway. But if you go to the edge in the corner and jump up, you'll get to this secret passage, which leads to the inside of Hydra Island, which is a super cool hiding place. And if you flash step inside of that structure in the middle, you'll reach the pirate domain, which is also super cool. 2 hidden locations at the exact same time. You may already know about the secret house in the middle town, but there's no way you know about this house located in the Skyland. Doors can be destroyed only with the Dark Step Z move, and inside you'll find a love letter, which means that this house is part of the Sun Quest. Did you know that there is a maze in Blox Fruits? You heard that right. If you go to the Marine Fortress and then go right here, you'll see a discolored wall which you can flash step through. Inside, you will find a maze, and you can break the walls with any explosive move. Also, the reason why this maze is here is because of the Sun Quest, which again means that the entrance to the cave can be destroyed only if you have a Dark Blade. If you're not an OG, then you probably don't know what String Fruit was, but it's pretty easy to guess. String Fruit is the old name of Spider Fruit. The moves were pretty much kept the same, with just a few minor changes, one of them being their names. Did you know that Leopard's transformation had this cooldown that was getting on the nerves of every Leopard user? Once Once you turn off the transformation, you weren't able to select any other item for some time. I literally don't know why this was happening, and it was probably a glitch, who knows. What's important is that it got removed, and Leopard users can now enjoy switching items like every other player on the server. Portal fruit has always somehow been different from other fruits, almost like it was getting a better treatment, and this next fact proves that. Before update 19, players were able to use portal fruit and kill other players within save zone. Just imagine how annoying this was. I assume this next one was a glitch, but it was so good that I want it back. Players used to literally become permanently invisible at random times. You were able to notice this once it happened to you because it seemed like no other player saw you. Attacking them was a really fun way to prank other players, and seeing their crazy reaction as they wonder what's going on. This was way too hilarious. Moving on to the next boss in the first sea, and here we have the Magma Admiral. Magma Admiral is located on the Magma Village Island, where you can also buy a soul cane from the living skeleton. Magma Admiral has 14,750 HP, deals 284 damage for each close range punch attack, uses C and X magma fruit moves, and respawns every 10 minutes. Upon completing the Magma Admiral quest, you'll receive 15,000 belly, the same amount as the Swan quest, but you'll also get 3 million XP. Many players say Magma Admiral is easier to kill because his attacks are easier to avoid, and he's much slower than Swan. With a proper fruit, it won't take you longer than a minute to kill Magma Admiral, meaning you could make around 900k per hour just by server hopping this boss. Are you still completing your quest by killing NPCs one by one? Well, that's an old and really slow method. Here's one trick you can use to complete your quest in mere seconds. There are many fruits and Blox fruits that have area of effect moves, and I'll use light fruit as an example since it's the best fruit for the first sea. While completing your quest, you won't go from NPC to NPC and kill them. Instead, if there are, let's say, 4 spawned NPCs, tag all 4 of them by hitting them once so they follow you. Once you get all 4 of them into the same spot, use Light's X move to get above them, and as soon as that move ends, activate the V move while you're still in the air. Once you drop on the ground, you'll be able to hit them until the V move finishes, since they're static and can't attack you while being hit by the V move. And if you don't kill all 4 of them by the time the V move is over, simply activate the C move and they will all be dead. This way you can kill 4 NPCs in under a minute. And if you went from NPC to NPC, this would have taken you a lot longer. I still can't believe how many players don't awaken their fruits. Awakening your fruit should be your main goal upon reaching the second sea. When you awaken your fruit, you unlock better and more powerful versions of your current moves. Awakening is done by completing raids and paying for your awakening with fragments. My recommended fruit to awaken in the second sea is Buddha, because after awakening it, it becomes super OP and you can complete the whole game only using that one fruit. It's super useful for hitting enemies at range, enemies with aura, and in the second and third sea where elemental immunity isn't worth it anymore because it requires you to be 10 plus levels above your enemy in order for it to work. Buddha V2 has an 8 times larger hitbox and 50% overall damage reduction. It simply doesn't get any better than that. You can ask your friend to help you awaken it, and there's no need to awaken every ability. Instead, only awaken Z move because it's the only move you'll be needing. Did you know that Glashim is the stupidest NPC in the game? And that's why so many people miss him. The only thing he does is tell you how many ectoplasms you have. He's in the game because before update 17.3, you weren't able to see how many ectoplasms you had in your inventory. Even though it's not the least done quest in the game, too many players still sleep on Citizen Quest. You'll get around 350 million XP from this quest and 150,000 belly, but the main reward is Musketeer Hat along with a title. Crypt Master is an NPC whose only job is to open doors. This NPC will open the door to the crypt if you've got Yama and Tushita swords with 300 plus mastery on both and are level 2200 or above. The next quest a bunch of people miss is Hungry Man quest, which allows you to upgrade your instinct ability to Instinct V2. This is a whole process and it takes a lot of time to do, which is why so few people actually complete it. But if you're bored and want an interesting quest, then you should start a Horn Man quest, since no one else wants to complete it. The only thing you get from completing this quest is Rainbow Savior Aura Color and the title Final Hero. This is a whole process and it takes a lot of time to do. Rainbow Savior is a special aura color that can only be obtained by doing this quest, and the same goes for this title. Dark Dagger is a sword that has a click cooldown of only 0.2 seconds. It's one of the best swords for catching runners, and in order to obtain it, you'll need to kill Ripinja raid boss. Now here we have a sword that's a bit more difficult to obtain, Foxland. In order to get your hands on this sword, you'll need to get to Kitsune Island, and then collect 15 or more Azure Embers and give them to the shrine. After doing this, there's a very small chance you will be rewarded with the the fox lamp, so it's really difficult to obtain it. The cocoa sword is really rare, and for good reason. It's literally good in every way possible, and if you want to obtain it, you'll need to spam kill the order boss. I hope I'll get it one day. I'm in love with the cocoa. But the next sword is Midnight Blade, which can be bought from L Admin for 100 ectoplasm. It's got many pros, and if you can, you should definitely get it. The next sword is Pole in its first form, and it can be obtained after defeating Thunder God boss. It's got a pretty nice range, but there's also a second form of this sword. Pole in its second form is way more difficult to obtain. You first need to have the first form of Pole Sword, then you'll need a fully awakened Rumble Fruit, and completion of 5 Rumble Raids. Then you need to complete a 6 Rumble Raid with the fully awakened Rumble Fruit equipped, after which you will be teleported to an island in the sky where you'll need to interact with Thunder God and purchase a second form Pole for 5,000 fragments. Did you know that the pilot helmet is the fastest accessory in the game? This accessory increases your movement speed by a whopping 130%. That's literally more than double. And on top of that, it also gives you 10% faster health regeneration and plus 250 health and energy. This accessory can be dropped from Stone, which is located in Port Town, the first island in the 3rd sea. It's pretty easy to get and it's good for grinding because you can do a dash trick with this accessory. But next among the best accessories in the 3rd sea is Jaw Shield. Jaw Shield gives you 12.5% more damage on melee attacks, 10% defense against melee attacks, 50% faster movement speed, and 500 energy and 250 health. The Jaw Shield can be obtained by completing 5 quests from the Player Hunter and then interacting with the Takomura NPC, who is located on the top of the stairs to the left upon entering the castle on the sea. Captain Elephant also wears this accessory, but he doesn't have the buffs and doesn't drop it, so I guess he's just protecting his jaw. If you're using a Cyborg race, you'll love the next one because it's good for pairing the Cyborg race because of V2 energy regeneration passive. This accessory is Holy Crown, and it can be obtained after defeating the Soul Reaper raid boss. Holy Crown gives you 5% more damage on any attack, 5% more defense against any attack, 5% faster energy regeneration, and 500 energy and 500 health. Although the drop chance is 100%, it's pretty difficult to obtain, but if you ask me, it's definitely worth it. One of the most famous records in Blox Fruit's history is the highest damage achieved, and this record was broken by none other than Kit Gaming. By spamming attacks against the cursed skeletons, he managed to rack up a damage count of over 1 billion after hours of gameplay. To think he managed to do this without cheats is crazy. But what's the highest damage a player has done with cheats? Well, this record is currently held by the one and only Yuza, who managed to deal an extremely high amount of damage after spawning in a few extra enemies to increase his AoE ability's effectiveness. He managed to score a huge count of 80,407,758,357,215. I'd love to see someone even try to match that record. Big Mom is one of the toughest bosses to defeat in the entire game, but the most skilled players can take her down with ease. Just like Jin, who managed to kill this boss in only 8 seconds. I wonder if I can break this record. Nope. Definitely not. Frozen Village is full of secret caves, but I bet you didn't know about this one. If you go to the Frozen Village and then go to the side opposite to the big cave, you'll find these doors which you can flash step through, but it's not worth it if you're not doing a quest to upgrade your Dark Blade, and inside can be found a tiny cave with a single letter on the ground. If you don't know who Ganfall Adventurer is, then you're probably new to the game. Ganfall Adventurer was the NPC you talked to when you wanted to start a quest on the Upper Skylands, but in Update 23, that NPC was renamed to Sky Quest Giver 2 due to copyright reasons. Rest in peace, Ganfall Adventurer. Moving on to the coolest boss in the First Sea, Cyborg. Cyborg is the last and strongest boss in the First Sea, and not many people kill him for money because he's got 3 times more HP than Magma Admiral, but gives you only 5k belly more. However, if you want to make money quicker in Blox Fruits, you should consider server hopping him. Why? Well, there's a chance Cyborg might drop his Cool Shades, which are considered to be among the best accessories in the game. Cool Shades boost your running speed by 17.5%, increase your damage on any attack by 7.5%, and give plus 100 energy and health. It'll be way easier and quicker for you to server hop other bosses once you get those glasses. Did you know that 95% of players use all their double XP codes in the First Sea? Not only that, but they don't even reach level 300, and all their double XP codes are gone. Don't be that guy. Instead, use your double XP code strategically. Let's say your optimal level up rate should be 1 level per quest. Only use your double XP code if one quest you're on isn't enough to level up. But if the quest you're doing gets you another level upon completing it, without even using the double XP code, then there's no reason for you to activate the code, and instead you should save it for later, because things will get tougher and you'll be so mad at yourself for wasting your codes. There are some extremely powerful elemental fruits in the game, but the main reason most players use an elemental fruit in the First Sea is because elemental users have a passive ability to be immune against enemies that have a lower level or the same level as that user. However, enemies with aura enabled will be able to hit the user as well as bosses, as they can ignore the elemental immunity. Still, elemental fruits will save you a ton of time in the first sea. Next up, we've got Hassan NPC, who is the most famous hidden NPC in the game. However, many people don't actually know what Hassan sells. He sells you a swordsman hat that gives a 10% buff on sword damage, but you'll need at least 300 stats on sword and flash step, aura, and air jump combined. I don't know a single player who upgraded their weapon. Well, at least in the first sea. Upgrading your sword or gun is something you'll probably never do, but it's good to know you can do it. And all you need to do is visit the blacksmith NPC and give him some material. While I'm still at the pirate island, I might as well show you another NPC that people always sleep on. This is Darkstep Teacher, and he's located behind this wall, which you can walk through or jump over. He teaches you Darkstep fighting style for 150,000 belly, and it's crazy how few people know where he's located. And next up is Iron Mace, which is sold by the same dealer, and this sword is pretty good for grinding at low levels. For 25,000 belly, I can't say it's bad. Shark Saw is the coolest looking sword so far, and in order to obtain it, you'll need to kill the Saw, who spawns for 15 minutes at Middletown every 1 hour and 15 minutes in the first sea. This sword is also pretty decent for farming at low levels. What's 3 times better than a katana? A triple katana, duh. And what's better than a like? Subscribe, duh. So hit that subscribe button before I pull out my triple katana. This sword can be bought for 60,000 belly from the sword dealer of the East, who is located at the Frozen Village. It's a good beginner sword, especially if you want to be Vice Admiral. But that's not all. We've got another spiky coat, and this one is red. Red spiky coat can be obtained in the same way as blue spiky coat, and the only difference are the switch numbers of energy and health boost. Red spiky coat gives you plus 250 energy, plus 500 health, and once again 7.5% more damage on any attack. Now moving on to the Choppa. Choppa is a rare accessory obtained after defeating a sea beast. Choppa gives you 3% more fruit damage, 10% higher fruit defense, and 15% faster fruit cooldown. This accessory is great for players that primarily use fruits. The next accessory we have is legendary, and it's a zebra cat. This accessory is guaranteed to be dropped after defeating Order, who can be spawned by starting an Order raid in the hidden laboratory on the hot side of the hot and cold island in the second sea. Zebra Cap grants you plus 10% sword damage, 15% faster cooldown, plus 500 energy, and plus 100 health. Considering this accessory is guaranteed, I suggest you get it as soon as you can. Many records focus on being the fastest, but what about being the slowest? When you connect your controller instead of using a keyboard, you can manually reduce your own speed significantly by moving the joystick only slightly in a direction instead of fully. Add a few debuffs from enemy attacks, and suddenly you are moving so slowly that you basically aren't moving at all. Newbie tried this method to achieve the slowest movement speed possible, and after a few tries, he was basically stationary. When first starting in Blox fruits, you always want to find fruits as fast as possible, but it can take some time to find one, and it can take a long time to actually find a good one. However, Jay and Protagonist managed to get his first fruit in a record-breaking time, and while the method is easy, it's also extremely tedious. Under this tree in Starter Island, there is a chance that a fruit will spawn. However, it is incredibly rare. Jayan had to keep restarting his game to respawn, but when he finally managed to do it, it only took him a few seconds when he finally got a lucky fruit spawn. But Sparky, he's on a max account. It's the thought that counts, okay? Now we're in the second sea, and I'll show you one really cool hidden location. If you go to the Colosseum that's located on the Kingdom of the Rose Island, you'll see an entrance below the bridge. When you go inside, you'll find 2 rooms with these mean-looking guys, and in one of those rooms will be King Redhead, who will ask you to go and disrespect Rip Indra if you're running away from your enemy on the Hydra Island. I've got a perfect hiding spot location to show you. You need to go to the arena, and you'll see these stairs that are actually seats for spectators. Anyways, if you go to the side of the stairs, you'll be able to go under them, and there's no way your enemy will ever find you here. It's also super spacious. Blox Fruits developers changed the skin of the NPC we literally visit the most, and I'll bet that many of you didn't even notice it until now. If you take a look at the old pictures of Blox Fruits Gacha, you'll notice he's wearing white pants, but the new skin of Blox Fruits Gacha features black pants. Subscribe if you didn't notice his pants got removed. Thunder God is definitely the ugliest boss in the first sea, but that's not why we're here. Thunder God spawns every 10 to 15 minutes and has close range stunning moves which do quite a good amount of damage to players around his level. This boss gives you 20k belly and has 2 times less HP than Cyborg, meaning you can kill him in a minute or a minute and a half depending on the damage you deal. By server hopping Thunder God, you can expect to make 800k belly in an hour. The least used weapons in Blox Fruits are definitely guns, and for a good reason. Since they don't deal a lot of damage, they're not really satisfying and pretty much useless. I'm saying almost because there's only one thing guns are good at, and that is attracting NPCs. If you don't want to dash from NPC to NPC to get their attention, simply use a gun with a fast reload time like the slingshot or kabucha. Believe it or not, this will save you a lot of time. Now, is this enough to actually make guns worth using? Even though this next one is stupid, it actually exists. this? I'm talking about the option to remove your fruit completely through the remove Blox fruit NPC. Many people don't even know this NPC exists, and there's so many players who never get to remove their fruit in this way. This is because most people simply don't want to pay 50,000 belly to have a fruit removed from their inventory. Darkblade V2 Awakening is what 99.8% of players miss. Not because you forget about it, but it's because you don't have a Darkblade. This is a whole quest that's called the Sun Quest, and it takes place in the first sea. And I have to admit, it's super fun. On to the second sea, and here we have the first NPC players miss in this sea, which is Cyborg. Most of you probably already know this guy, as he sells you a lantern boat for 1.5 thousand fragments. But before update 20, he used to sell a flower ship, which was way better in my opinion. Comment down below what you think. Next up, we've got the strongest god NPC, who sells you Kabucha for 1.5 thousand fragments. He can be found at Usopp's Island in the second sea, and the gun he sells is one of the best guns in the game. Here we have the second sword from the list that can't be bought. This is Twin Hooks, a sword that deals pretty good damage, has fast attack speed, and is great for combos. In order to obtain it, you'll need to kill Captain Elephant. Moving on to the Dragon Trident, a sword that has a really big hitbox compared to other swords, as well as good range. All you need to do to obtain this sword is defeat Tidekeeper. He spawns every half an hour on the Forgotten Island in the second sea. For 400,000 belly, you can buy one of the prettiest swords in the game. Well, in my opinion anyway. Dual-headed blade. It doesn't have dash on melee attacks, which makes it great to farm with elemental fruits. So if you've got 400,000 belly sitting in the bank, I suggest you go to the Master Sword Dealer on the 4th island of the Skylands in the first sea, and get yourself this sword. But on to the next sword, which is Gravity Cane. This is a pretty good sword with moves that break instinct. If you want to obtain it, you'll need to kill Fajita, who is located in the green zone on the second sea. But the second sea has some even crazier accessories, with the first one being the Black Spiky Coat, an accessory that can be obtained after defeating the Jeremy boss, who is located in the Kingdom of Rose in the second sea. This accessory gives you plus 200 health and energy, and 7.5% damage on any attack. The next accessory looks pretty much the same except it's blue. Blue Spiky Coat is an accessory that can be obtained after defeating the Cursed Captain boss, who has a 33.3% chance of spawning in the cursed ship in the second sea every in-game night. Even though the only appearance difference between Blue Spiky Coat and Black Spiky Coat is the color, Blue Spiky Coat is actually much better. This accessory gives you plus 500 energy, plus 250 health, and 7.5% more damage on any attack. Lots of people think that the factory mission in Blox Fruits is boring, and if you're one of those people, you'll definitely enjoy this record, because Kaido's plays managed to destroy the entire factory in just 3 seconds. Now that's an easy way to get reward. Grinding for cash in Blox Fruits can be extremely tedious, but this record shows you that you can get some cash really fast. Newbie's record for the most cash collected in just 1 minute will have you reconsidering your entire money grinding strategy, because his strategy for this particular record was to take a quest from this quest giver, and then group up a lot of enemies to take down with some massive attack. And with this strategy, he managed to get 115,103 belly. This works out to over 1,900 belly per second, which is absolutely unreal. If you play Blox Fruits for long enough, you are bound to find some people with staggering bounties, but this one is absolutely crazy. Jin got some people together and killed them over and over again until he managed to obtain a bounty of 30 million. This is the max possible bounty in the game, so while obviously Jin isn't the only one with this record, he definitely got there very fast. Speaking of opposite records, usually it's the highest possible damage people are trying to achieve, but who has gotten the lowest damage? Newbie also managed to achieve this with an interesting strategy. By using the worst weapon and hitting an enemy with the dragon enhancement, he managed to deal just 0.2 damage per hit, which is laughably low. Being in combat for a really extensive period of time is rare in Blox Fruits, and depending on what you're doing, you'll probably be in combat for only a few minutes at most. However, JN Protagonist had a record for the longest time spent in combat, and like some of the other records on this list, it's technically unbeatable. This method is a little bit cheesy, as you do need to use an auto clicker for it to work. Just get a friend to stand directly across from you and use the auto clicker to spam low damage attacks. You can technically use this method to stay in combat infinitely, but JN stayed in combat for 52 minutes and 35 seconds until he got bored, but he still broke the world record regardless. In order to access this next hidden room, you'll first need to kill Ice Admiral and get the key. I'm talking about the hidden room below the staircase inside the Ice Castle. Once you've got the key, you can simply walk through the wall while holding the key, and inside you'll find a chest which will give you a Rengoku sword and a title saber. Did you know about this one? Since we're still here at the Ice Castle, I'll show you another secret location. You'll first need to get a library key by killing the Ice Admiral. Once you've got that, simply go and unlock the library door. Inside you'll find Foyu, which can teach you the death step fighting style, but in order to do that, you'll need 5,000 fragments, 2.5 million belly, and 400 mastery on dark step. But if you just want to meet Foyu and don't have a key, don't worry, because you can just flash step through the door. Next up, we have another hidden room, but this time it's on Floating Turtle Island. In order to access it, you first need to find this mushroom, which may be tricky because there are so many mushrooms on floating turtle. But once you found this exact mushroom, shoot the wall behind it and it'll break. When you walk inside, you will find this? Oh yeah, I just remembered. This room is where you collect your musketeer hat upon completing Citizen's Raid. Arrow is an NPC located in the second sea that allows you to evolve your race to V3. He's also one of the sons of Rip Indra, and his location isn't really hidden. But did you know that there is a hidden location inside of Arrow's home? Once you get to the Arrow, you'll need to go to the wall behind him, get the perfect angle, and flash step. If you succeed, you will find yourself in a big secret hideout spot where nobody will ever be able to find you. Did you know that Magma got a rework and some of its features got removed? Well, not really. The only thing that got removed is Magma's old price, which was 850,000 belly. Now the fruit costs 960,000 belly, which makes me super annoyed. You probably didn't know about this if you never used Love Fruit before. Love Fruit used to have a move which gave you a flamingo. Well, actually it still has it, but the old flamingo got removed from the game and we got a brand new one. The biggest change between these is that the old flamingo used to only see you, while the new flamingo can see you and your besto friendo. I know a fact that you rage killing this next boss. I'm talking about Fishman Lord, who has two different forms. His second form is faster, does more damage, and gains back all health upon the death of his first form. There's nothing worse than seeing his health bar turn green after it was red just a second ago. He's considered to be among the hardest bosses to kill in the first sea because he's stronger but gives the same amount of money as if you killed Swan. But while that's true, Fishman Lord also gives almost 3 times more XP than Swan does, and you might even get a trident. Subscribe if you pretty much hate this boss but love how easy you can level up and make around 500k belly an hour on top of that, just by server hopping him. The best thing to do upon reaching level 1975 is to go to Haunted Castle and spend a lot of time grinding there. Even if you can move to another island, I'd still suggest you stay on the Haunted Castle and grind there because of the bones. You won't grind for levels, but you'll be grinding for bones. Why? Well, because you can use those bones to roll from the Death King NPC and possibly get a double XP from him, which is worth a lot in the third sea. Did you know that boss hopping is the quickest way of leveling up in Blox Fruits? Boss hopping refers to server hopping, but in order to kill a specific boss that gives you a lot of XP. The best bosses to server hop in the first sea are Vice Admiral and Thunder God. Another place where you can do this is Prison, because there are 3 bosses there, as well as 2 silver, 2 gold, and 1 diamond chest that will get you some extra belly. This is one of the most amazing NPCs in the game, and yet so many people miss King Redhead. He's the key NPC to get a fight against Rip Indra, and besides that, he's got the best story out of all the NPCs in the game. Next up, we've got one of the least visited NPCs, because by this point, many players decide to abandon the game or go back to the first sea to troll noobs. Alchemist NPC is an NPC that lets you upgrade your race to V2 if you've completed the flower quest. You have a bizarre rifle? If you don't, then that's probably because you missed El Rodolfo NPC, who sells this rifle for 25 ectoplasm. He can be found at the bottom floor of the cursed ship near the ship engineer enemy. El Admin is another NPC located in the cursed ship, who sells Midnight Blade for 100 ectoplasm. I know many players miss this NPC because so far I've only seen one player who has a Midnight Blade. Warden's Sword is a sword that can be obtained after defeating Chief Warden on the prison island. This has to be one of the ugliest swords in the game. It literally looks like an old version of Darkblade. However, it is decent for farming because of its large hitbox. The next sword is Bacento, and this sword has 2 versions. The second version has a bigger hitbox, deals more damage, and has a different moveset. It can be bought from Massive Sword Dealer located on the Skylands for 1 million belly, with the condition you're level 250 or above. The second version is slightly more difficult to obtain. You first need to have version 1 of Bacento, and then go to the Marine Fortress and kill Greybeard, who spawns once every 6 hours. Names nor appearance won't change, but the sword will actually be different. Bloody Sword is the next sword from the list, and you can obtain it after killing Cake Queen. This sword has excellent combo potential, and it's once again pretty good for grinding. Onto the Cavender, which is a legendary sword that can be obtained after defeating Beautiful Pirate. This sword is easy to aim with, but it's not really loved among the community members. Have you heard about Ancient Monk? Well, maybe you did, but do you know where he's located? If not, I'll show you. This guy is located at the Floating Turtle Island, to be a little more precise, inside one of the trees on the Floating Turtle Island. It's actually this tree, and it might be a little tricky to find it, but finding a way inside of this tree is even more tricky. But here's how to find it easily. Just climb on this big wall, and from that side it'll be easy to spot an entrance. Then just go inside and go through the passage until you drop down where you will find an Ancient Monk, the NPC that teaches you God-human fighting style. And I'll be honest, the first time I was here, I thought he was some kind of squirrel. Next up, however, we have a location that not many players have ever accessed, but there's something even more interesting in there. First, we'll need to reach that location by going to Tiki Outpost Island in the 3rd sea. Then climb right here and go down. Inside, you will find another hole and just jump down once again. For those of you who don't know, this is a shipwright, which is a subclass that allows players to repair their boats. And if you take a closer look at the wall, you'll see the number 50, which is actually a hint. It refers to the 50 sea events you have to clear to unlock the door for shipwright subclass. There you go, a hidden hint. Most of you know that the haunted ship isn't actually inside the ship itself, but a completely separate island that's far away from the ship. In order to reach this island, you'll need to jump in a boat from the Kingdom of the Rose, steer to the right, and just go forward. It'll take you some time, but once you see a weird dark island, you'll know you're there. There are two ways how you can access the inside of Haunted Ship Island from here, and the first one is flash stepping through the wall, which is a bit harder. And the second way is simply stepping on these red tiles, which will kill you. And while this might seem bad, once you respawn, you'll be inside of the haunted ship. Basic was a boat you probably never got to ride if you are a new player. It was a boat with medium speed, 2 cannons, and 2 passenger seats. It was relatively cheap at 2,000 belly, and was used in ship raids in the 2nd and 3rd seas. In update 20, however, it got completely reworked, and today it's called Brigade. The second NPC on the list that got removed from the game is Bone Wraith. He was added as a part of the Ghost event, but developers had promised it would stay in the game after the event ends. However, as soon as the event ended, Bone Wraith was removed from the game. If you haven't been playing Blox since 2018, then I'm sure you never got to see poneglyphs in the game. Poneglyphs were large stones with carved inscriptions on them, added to the game between update 10 and update 12, but quickly removed on update 13. They were located on the Snow Mountain and the Cave Island in the 2nd sea, and the community actually doesn't know too much about them, with most believing that they were just a hint about an awakening for the rubber fruit. Captain Elephant is one of the trickiest bosses in the 3rd sea. He is located on the floating turtle island and has 160,000 HP and deals 2.3 thousand damage per hit. He uses twin hooks, which he can drop once he's defeated, while also infusing them with aura. He also wears a jaw shield, but he doesn't have the buffs and doesn't drop it. This boss respawns every 30 minutes, and upon defeating him gives you 40,000 belly and 90 million XP. Server hopping Captain Elephant for an hour will get you close to 1.6 belly if you move fast. Who's the prettiest boss in the whole of Blox Fruits? Well, Beautiful Pirate, of course. This boss is not only beautiful, but also a great boss for server hopping. Beautiful Pirate can be found at the floating turtle in a gigantic tree with a door, and has a respawn time of 45 minutes. He uses Cavender as his main weapon, which he can drop upon defeating. He's got 2 phases, and once the Beautiful Pirate is low on health, he will go into his 2nd phase. From then, he will start to deal more damage, become much faster, emit purple particles, and his face becomes distorted similarly to how Dawn Swan's 2nd phase looks. Upon defeating him, you will be rewarded with 50,000 belly and a stunning 100 million XP. Server hopping this boss will easily get you 2.5 million belly an hour. Also, another fact, the Beautiful Pirate is regarded as the strongest normal boss in the whole game, just barely surpassing Cake Queen. The next up is Wando, which can be bought from this guy for 2 million belly, and it's one of the best swords for grinding and PvP in the 2nd sea. Tushita is really difficult to obtain, but so is Yama. In order to obtain this sword, you'll need to complete another puzzle, which is called the Yama puzzle. Cursed Dual Katana is known as the 2nd hardest to obtain sword, because in order to obtain it, you need a 350 mastery on both Yama and Tushita. Once you're done with that, you'll need to complete the Cursed Dual Katana puzzle. Why are there so many puzzles? But next we've got the Spy NPC, who is located in the Tiki Outpost. The only reason why almost everyone misses this NPC is because it's one of the latest NPCs in the game. Spy sells clues about the Leviathan for 1.5 thousand fragments, which is, at the moment, the only way to summon Leviathan. You'll need to get 4 clues to fully summon him, which means that it costs a total of 6,000 fragments to fully bribe the Spy. This is a whole process, and it takes a lot of time to do. Now moving on to the 2nd sea, the first boss we have is Diamond. He's located in the Flower Hill, and upon completing Diamond Quest, you will get about 12.65 million XP and 25k belly, with a chance to get a longsword from him. An easy way to kill him is to keep your distance and spam range attacks at him. By doing this, you could kill him every minute and make around 1.5 million belly per hour. Now that's quite impressive. Are you really playing Blox Fruits if you never knew about the fastest glitch in the game? In order to do this glitch, you needed a Spirit Fruit, along with another permanent fruit. You'd take Spirit Fruit, activate the Flying Pig speed, and then switch to another permanent fruit, and then you'd keep the speed buff. Best of all, this was actually stackable, meaning you were able to do this as many times as you want, and you'd get another speed buff every single time. Unfortunately, this was removed in update 20, but I still really miss it. Soul Guitar is a gun known for one thing: healing your health as you're hitting your enemies. Before before update 21, you'd get healed if you damaged someone from a boat while holding soul guitar. However, this got removed in update 21. Let me know in the comments if you ever tried this. I've always wondered why there are igloos we can't enter on the docks for, but I just found out that you can actually enter these. Just get the perfect angle and flash step inside of them, where you will find a secret chest. I think these are the least looted chests in the whole game. What's even better is that you can see through them once you're inside. It's a perfect hiding spot since you can see everyone, but no one can see you. And you can use it to make sure your friends don't sneak up on you. Well, I can't because I don't have any friends. A similar method can be used to achieve the record for the longest time spent in a single server. Mangopool used an auto-clicker to stay in the same server for over 24 hours. And if you really want, you can beat this record just by leaving your computer for a few days. And hey, if you're going on vacation, you could leave it for literal weeks. Just don't blame me if your house burns down. I've got an idea. I'll leave it running while I go on vacation. And let's see if I broke the my PC. Hey, at least I got a world record. There are a few ways to travel really quickly in Blox Fruit, but what's the fastest you've seen someone travel from one island to another? Well, Yuzoth managed to travel all the way from Tiki Outpost to the Great Tree by using Light Fruit, and he did it in just 10 seconds. How does he move so fast? When you stack the best enchantments in Blox Fruits, you can get some crazy speed. Jin has the record for the fastest time crossing this bridge, and by using the right fruits, he managed to do it at an incredible speed. And using the leopard fruit, he made it across the bridge in only 4 seconds. Leviathan Shield is the accessory that makes it impossible to die in water, because it reduces sea damage by 90%. Besides that, this accessory also gives you 15% more defense against melee, sword, and gun attacks, 30% more defense against sea events, and a staggering plus 1000 health. This accessory can be crafted through the Beast Hunter NPC at the cost of 1 Mirror Fractal, 30 Leviathan Scale, 10 Electric Wings, and 20 Fool's Gold. It's very hard to obtain, considering you'll need 30 Leviathan Scales, which can only be dropped while defeating the Leviathan raid boss. The next up is Santa Hat, and this accessory is also bought from Santa Claus at the price of 500 candies. Santa Hat gives you 12.5% more damage on fruit and sword attacks, 30% faster running speed, and plus 400 health and energy. The Great Tree is the third island in the third sea, and if you have access to it, you might consider yourself a pro. But you probably didn't know about this NPC that lets you extend your crew by 1 slot for 2,000 fragments. His name is Crew Captain, and he'll let you extend your crew up to 30 slots. So if you want to have a crew with 30 people, you'll need 30,000 fragments to extend it up to 30 slots. Jeez, that's a lot of fragments. But in case you don't have a crew and talk to him, he'll just say, "What's up? Nothing much, man. What about you?" I feel sorry for you if you never got to open a cursed chest. Those were just way too fun to open. Upon collecting a cursed chest, 3 evil wraith or bone wraith would spawn and attack you. And after defeating them, you could get 3 things. 4 to 8 bones were guaranteed to get, but you were lucky if you ever got 10 minutes of double XP, let alone a ghost fruit, as that was just way too rare. In the second and third sea, opening these chests would also give you 50 to 125 fragments, which was actually quite a good way of farming fragments. Speaking of fragments, have you ever heard about rare artifacts? Rare artifact was an item dropped by the Darkbeard raid boss, with a 100% chance that could be used to unlock certain items or services. It functions similarly to the Fist of Darkness, disappearing from the player's inventory upon death or leaving the game. With them, you are able to buy Flower Ship, Dragon Breath, Kabucha, Stat Point Reset, or even a race change. However, rare artifacts were removed a long time ago, in update 11 to be more precise, which happened back in 2020 and got replaced by fragments. Comment down below which currency seems better to you, rare artifacts or fragments. The next up is Jeremy. This is another boss located at the Kingdom of Rose Island, who gives you the same amount of belly as Diamond, but is easier to kill according to many players, because Jeremy has about 10,000 less HP than Diamond. However, Jeremy uses the Spring Fruit as his main way of attack, so make sure you come prepared. By server hopping this boss, you could make about the same as if you were server hopping Diamond, and maybe even a little bit more. Alright, so now we have possibly the most interesting, but not really effective way of making money in the second sea. Artillo Quest is the quest in which you need to kill 50 Swan Pirates, Jeremy, and solve a puzzle. Upon completing this quest, you will receive 50,000 belly, 35 million XP, and some other things. But since this takes longer than any other quest, it's not really recommended. However, you can make around 600,000 an hour if you do this over and over. Spending 8 hours grinding would get you a bunch of levels and belly. And to do this, you don't even have to be awake. You can simply use an auto clicker because it's allowed. Get your auto clicker software, set it up, and just stand near the that bosses or NPCs spawn. If you do this and let it run overnight, you'll be surprised with the amount of levels and belly you got in the morning. PvP is really fun, but in the first and second sea, it's just a waste of time. This is because PvP is pretty difficult if you're not at max level, and it doesn't grant you any benefits for grinding. I know you may love to PvP, but wait until you're max level, because then it will be way more fun. Oh, also, 90% of knockback moves will slow down your grind, so I suggest you stay away from those. I know being placed at the top of the leaderboard feels good, but it means nothing. Having a big bounty is just looks, trust me. I know bounty increases your defense and attack, but it means nothing because those buffs are only for PvP. High bounty won't help you with grinding, so I'd suggest you focus on other things instead. And if you do this for a while, you'll notice you're progressing so much faster. I said 99.8% of players don't experience getting V2 of Darkblade because 99.99999% of players don't experience getting called a so-called Slayer Darkblade, which is a V3 of Darkblade. Next thing most players miss is obtaining a cyborg race. Why? Well, because you need to complete a whole puzzle and the locations are pretty hidden, which makes cyborg race hard to obtain. Rengoku's sword is one of the most known hidden features in the game. In order to obtain this sword, you'll need to kill the Ice Admiral, get the key, and enter the hidden room below the staircase in the haunted castle. Next up, we've got obtaining a superhuman fighting style, which is the best style you can get in the second sea. Most players miss this because the location of the teacher is pretty hidden. Superhuman teacher is located in this tiny little cave on Snow Mountain Island, and to get this style, you'll need 300 plus mastery on Dark Step, Electric, Water Kung Fu, Dragon Breath, and 3 million belly. On to the next NPC, who's called Trevor. You may know this guy, but you probably don't know why he's there. He is a key NPC to gaining access to the Dawn Swan boss, but most players skip him or come back to him later because he wants a physical fruit that has a value of 1 million belly or above. Darkblade. In order to obtain your hands on the Darkblade, you need to either be rich in real life, because you can't buy it for 1200 Robux, or be a very good friend of an admin. There are also another 2 ways of obtaining this sword, and those are either getting traded it or being gifted a Darkblade Game Pass by another player. We're officially in the top 3, and here we have Hollow Scythe. This sword can be obtained by defeating the Soul Reaper, and in order to spawn Soul Reaper, you'll need Hallow Essence, which you can get by buying random supplies from Death King with bones, or by praying to the Gravestone NPC. Now here's a real obtainable sword. But literally, Triple Darkblade is the only sword in the game that can't be bought nor obtained in any way whatsoever. This sword is a staff exclusive item that can only be given out by developers of the game or admins. Swan is definitely one of the most mentioned names in Blox Fruits, and the next accessory is Swan Glasses, which there's a chance you can get after defeating Dawn Swan. Swan Glasses are considered OP, and they're legendary for a reason. They give you 25% faster movement speed, 8% higher damage on everything and anything, 8% faster skills cooldown, plus 8% defense, plus 250 energy, and plus 250 health. This is one of my favorite accessories in the whole game, even though they're really difficult to obtain. Is Ghoul Mask the scariest looking accessory in the game? I don't know, but I know it makes you go fast, like really fast. Ghoul Mask can be bought from El Perro, who is located in the cursed ship for 50 ectoplasm. This accessory gives you 10% life leech, 2.5% against NPCs, plus 35% speed, and lastly plus 500 energy. You'll start zooming through the seas once you get the Ghoul Mask. Next up, we have one of the most loved accessories in all of Blox Fruits. I'm talking about Dark Coat, which is a legendary accessory that gives you plus 600 health and energy, and increases your fruit damage by 15%. The Dark Coat can be obtained after defeating the Darkbeard raid boss, who spawns after a Fist of Darkness is placed on the altar at the Dark Arena. Comment down below if you've got this accessory. Did you know that there's a hidden maze in the Marine Fortress? This is definitely one of the most interesting secrets hidden in the first sea, but unfortunately, if you don't have a Dark Blade, you won't be able to enter it. You need to go to the back of the fortress and look for a wall that's a different shade than the rest. Open it with your Dark Blade and voila! This maze is mainly used to obtain a love letter, which is needed to complete the Sun Quest, which upgrades the Dark Blade to the V2 variant. There's no way you already knew about this. You probably don't even have a Dark Blade, but at least you have friends. Have you ever heard about Swan Ship? This ship was obtained by defeating the Dawn Swan boss. It had a 100% chance to drop if you had dealt at least 10% of the total damage. It cost 5,000 belly to spawn, and it had 2,500 HP and 4 cannons. But best of all, it had Black Swan figurehead as well as wings on the sides. However, Swan Ship was removed in update 20 and replaced by Guardian. If you never got to see a speedboat in the game, trust me, you should just be thankful. Speedboat is definitely one of the ugliest boats Blox Fruits has ever seen. However, it was really fast, and the fact that it was only purchasable if you had a Fast Boat Game Pass already tells you enough. Speedboat was removed from the game in update 20 and replaced by Miracle. If you ask any OG player what's their favorite boat in Blox Fruits, they'll definitely say Enforcer without any thinking, despite the fact that Enforcer got removed in update 20 along with the other boats. Enforcer was the smallest but fastest boat in Blox Fruits, which had only one seat and could be bought from the luxury boat dealer for 1,000 belly, which means you needed the Fast Boats Game Pass if you wanted to be able to purchase Enforcer. And once again, it was removed in update 20 and replaced with a much bigger Sentinel. Evil Wraith was another NPC featured in a ghost event. Just like Bone Wraith, we expected him to stay in the game even after the event was over, but once again he got removed. He was a level 2,550 NPC, and upon killing him he dropped 3 to 8 bones, along with a small chance of double XP for 10 minutes, or the ghost fruit, just like the cursed chest. We set our foot in the 3rd sea, and the first boss we've got here is Island Empress. For attacking, Island Empress uses Dark Step and 3 moves from the old love fruit. She has 128,000 HP, and spawns every 30 minutes on the Hydra Island. Upon completing the quest, you'll receive 30k belly and 70 million XP. You'll also have a small chance to get Serpentine Bow, but today we're only going to be counting money. Most of her attacks require you to be near her for them to be effective, so if you're far enough away, she will not deal much damage. Server hopping Island Empress for an hour will get you about 800 to 900,000 belly. Next up, we've got Kilo Admiral, another female boss. She spawns every half an hour at the Great Tree Island and has around 140,000 HP. Upon defeating her, you will get 35,000 belly and 78 million XP. She uses the retired Kilo Fruits X and C moves and Sharkman Karate. Server hopping Kilo Admiral for just 1 hour will make you almost 1.5 million belly. I don't know about you, but I'll take some extra belly any day of the week. Many players start grinding in Blox Fruits with a wish to reach the 3rd sea and complete the game while still having combat, but most of them pretty quickly realize it's slowing them down, and then they get themselves a new fighting style. Because of this, I recommend you switch your fighting style as soon as you possibly can, because it will allow you to level up much faster and save you so much time in the long run. Depending on the weapon you primarily use, whether it's a fruit, sword, or fighting style, you should shop accordingly to build your stats. Building your stats is much more than just equally dividing them or focusing on only one stat. I know we've all made that mistake before, but your focus should be maxing out melee and defense, and then focusing on the type of weapon you're using. But in the case that you're using a high damaging fruit, I'd suggest you put a whopping 60% in fruit and only 15 to 20% in defense and melee. Don't be scared to build your stats according to your current situation, since you can reset your stats 3 times for free using code, so there's really no need for you to worry. Next up, we've got a Yama puzzle, and players sleep on it for a reason. The Yama puzzle is a secret puzzle that takes place in various locations throughout the 3rd sea, and you wouldn't believe how hard it is to complete. It's arguably one of the most difficult quests in the game, and upon completing it, you will receive a Yama sword. Ancient One is the most 3rd sea NPC, if I can even call it an NPC, in the game. This NPC is sphere looking, and it is necessary to interact with him in order to obtain gears, which are used to obtain a race V4 ability by fitting them into an ancient clock. After researching more about this NPC, I understand why so many people just skip it or miss it completely, because it's way too complicated. Just like many players don't upgrade their weapons, many players miss on enchanting their weapons too. Enchanting can be done through the Dragon Talon Sage NPC, who is located on Tiki Outpost. This NPC lets you craft scrolls and then enchant guns and swords with them. Next up, we have Rengoku, and it's a hassle to obtain it. First, you'll need a hidden key, which you can get after defeating the Awakened Ice Admiral. Then you can enter a secret room hidden under the stairs below the Awakened Ice Admiral and touch the chest inside the room while having the hidden key. You will receive the Rengoku as well as the Samurai title by equipping it. Saber is the sword that can be obtained after defeating the Saber Expert, who can only be accessed by doing the Saber puzzle. The most expensive sword on the list so far is Sadi. Sadi is a sword that can be bought from the legendary sword dealer at the cost of 2 million belly. This sword deals nice damage and also has good combo potential. Next up, we have Shark Anchor, which is one of the coolest looking swords in the game. This sword can be dropped after defeating a Terror Shark with an anchor attached, and after getting a Sadi, you must get a Shisui too. This sword can be purchased from the legendary sword dealer at the cost of 2 million belly, just like Sadi. Onto the Spiky Trident, which can be obtained after killing either the Cake Prince or the Do King boss. Moves of this sword lock the enemy in place, and they're really strong for PvP. Tushita is among the hardest swords to get in the entire game. In order to obtain Tushita, you'll need to complete the Tushita puzzle. Completing this puzzle will allow you to fight the Longma boss and obtain the Tushita sword. Speaking of which, let's see how much money you can make server hopping Cake Queen. She's arguably one of the most beloved bosses in the entire game when it comes to farming, and that's because you will get 30 to 45,000 belly for killing her even without starting a quest. Cake Queen's got a lot of HP, I'm talking 261,000 a lot, and respawns spawns every 30 minutes. Killing her won't be easy at all, but with the help of a good fruit and maybe a few friends, it'll be a bit easier. A few friends? Man, I don't even have one friend, let alone a few. Anyways, upon completing the quest and killing Cake Queen, you'll be rewarded with approximately 70,000 belly, and maybe even with a buddy sword. Server hopping Cake Queen for an hour will easily get you well over 3 million belly. This is literally the best method for making belly in the entire game. Did you know this? Comment down below. We've got a location only a few players know about. First, you'll need to go to the Cave Island, which can be found in a remote area in the second sea. Once you find it and go inside, you'll see a few chests, but that's not actually why we're here. If you look up closely, you'll see a small opening in the ceiling, which you can jump through with some precision in order to find this secret ceiling. For those who don't know, and I know a lot of you don't, this ceiling is where blue roses spawn, but it only happens at nighttime. Flower Ship is definitely the most known removed boat, just because in order to unlock it, you had to talk to the cyborg NPC, who is located behind the factory in one of the arches, and you had to pay him 1.5 thousand fragments. It had 2,500 HP, 4 cannons, and a small Easter egg bank hidden in the highest flag. It was really good for fighting on the sea because its cannons were located in the front, which meant that they had a bigger angle. In fact, this boat was able to fire at an angle bigger than any other ship. If you know who Wenlock Toad Over Heaven was, then I have huge respect for you. Wenlock Toad Over Heaven used to be the Awakening NPC, and when you talk to him, the name would display as King Wenlock Toad Sama Over Heaven in the dialogue window. However, he was replaced in update 13 to the mysterious entity. Comment down below if you'd like to get Wenlock Toad back. Next up, we've got Smoke Admiral. Smoke Admiral is a boss located on the Hot and Cold Island, and he spawns every 20 minutes. He uses Jitty and Smoke Fruit, and upon completing the quest, you can count on getting close to 30,000 belly. If you kill him once a minute, it would mean you could make 1.8 million belly an hour. The last one from the second sea is Fajita. This boss deals over 1,000 damage per hit, and can be extremely hard to kill without a good fruit. Fajita uses moves from the gravity fruit, while holding a gravity cane, and he spawns every 15 minutes. Upon killing him, you'll receive 25,000 belly, and a whopping 19 million XP. There's also a chance he might drop his gravity cane. You could easily make around 1.2 to 1.3 million by server hopping Burrito. Sorry, I mean Fajita. One of the coolest things you can do in Blox Fruits is cook up some crazy combos with your abilities, and the world record for the longest one is absolutely insane. Kit Gaming managed to take the record with a combo that lasted well over 2 minutes. He achieved this by first eating the venom fruit, and then resetting his skill points to max out his melee stat. This allowed him to have enough energy to stack an insane combo in-game to take the record. If you're a fan of leopard fruit, then this record for the most leopards in a single mission will make you cry tears of joy. Kaido's plays gathered 12 leopards in one server before setting out, and managed to make some pretty cool fireworks with the ability spam too. Have you ever wanted to be invincible in Blox Fruits? This record-breaking build from Jin just might be good enough. Using the Dragon Enchantment and a bunch of other bonuses, he managed to achieve the highest defense ever in the game, and when someone tried to use an attack on him, he barely even took damage. The fastest level 100 world record is a record that is attempted fairly often in the Blox Fruits community. Kit Gaming managed to take this record by going to Fountain City, activating a code for double XP, and killing several high-level bosses. He managed to hit level 100 in just 11 minutes and 38 seconds, while most players will take several hours to reach that level. If you've got yourself some Robux, but don't know how to spend it, you should definitely get a permanent portal fruit. This fruit allows you to teleport from island to island in a matter of seconds, and there is simply no faster way of transportation in the entire game. This will literally save you plenty of time, and on top of that, it's great for PvP and has really high value in trading. But what's even cooler than saving time is this cool AFK machine that you can easily make using a portal fruit. Just put a quantum leap above another quantum leap, and you'll be in a loop until you exit it. On top of that, this move is actually really easy to farm with. Next up, we've got one really weird NPC, and I bet you don't know his purpose. This is Drip Mama NPC, and the only thing he does is tell you how many more enemies you need to kill in order to start a Cake Prince or a Dough King raid. How stupid. Most of you don't have a pretty helmet because you missed this guy. This is Lenovan, an NPC that gives you a pretty helmet if you kill 5 elite pirates. And best of all, you don't have to pay anything. Another accessory that many players miss and never get is the Jaw Shield, which is obtained by completing 5 quests from the Player Hunter NPC. And if you didn't already know, Player Hunter is one of the most interesting, yet also one of the least visited NPCs in the entire game. This NPC will give you a quest to kill a random player on the server, and upon completion of each quest, you will be rewarded with 20,000 belly and 50 million XP. And here we finally have our winner, at least when it comes to the difficulty of obtaining it. A true triple katana. In order to obtain this sword, you'll first need to obtain Sati, Shisui, and Wando, and get all 3 of them to 300 mastery or more. Once you've got all 3 of these swords to 300 mastery, you need to travel to Green Zone, locate the highest stem, and travel to the very top of it where you'll find the mysterious man who sells true triple katana for 2 million belly. Once equipped, you will be awarded with 2 titles, the Hurricane and Demon Eye. In the end, you'll pay 8 million belly for this sword, but at least you'll have no cons at all. The next accessory is basically an alternative version of Pale Scarf, and it's called Kitsune Mask. This accessory can be obtained by submitting 15 or more Azure Embers at the Kitsune Shrine during the Blue Moon event, which is on Kitsune Island. Kitsune Mask gives you 10% higher fruit damage, plus 2 instinct dodges, 15% increased passive regeneration on fruit meters, 50% more enhanced vision in dark seas, and plus 750 health. It's definitely the most useful accessory for exploring dark seas. Here we have another Kitsune accessory, and this time it's Kitsune Ribbon. It's a cute looking accessory that can be obtained the same way as Kitsune Mask. This accessory gives you 10% more defense on fruits damage, 15% faster health regen, 30% faster movement speed, plus 7 dash distance, 25% faster flash step cooldown, and a whopping 2500 energy. Now that's what I call an energy boost. What's better than a Pale Scarf? Many accessories if you ask me, but the community tends to love the Pale Scarf anyway. This accessory gives you 15% more damage on fruits and swords, 2 extra instinct dodges, and 10 times larger instinct vision range. The Pale Scarf can be obtained after defeating the Cake Prince boss or the Dough King boss and dealing 10% or more damage to them. Now here we have something even more interesting, Terror Jaw. This accessory gives you 10% more damage on sword attacks, 10% cooldown reduction on any attack, 20% defense against sea events, and plus 200 energy and health. Terror Jaw can be obtained from the Shark Hunter in the Tiki Outpost, but you can also craft it yourself if you have 1 Terror Eye, 2 Mutant Teeth, 10 Fool's Gold, and 5 Shark Teeth. The defense against sea events this accessory gives you is really worth your time. This next accessory is obtained by killing the Blox Fruit's owner. I'm talking about Valkyrie Helm, which you can obtain after defeating Ripinge or Raid Boss. I think it's pretty easy to obtain since at this point you spent quite some time in the 3rd sea, and the buffs this accessory grants the player are 15% more damage on sword attacks and plus 600 energy and health. If you're looking for an easy record to beat, this one's for you. Clay K spent 12 minutes swimming from the outskirts of the map, setting the record for the most time spent swimming in game. This record is incredibly easy to beat for a couple reasons, as obviously you can simply just go farther than he did, but you can actually make this much longer by disabling your fruit and not using Fishman. So if you're looking to get in the Blox Fruits record book, this is definitely the record to do it on. How long do you usually take to complete a raid in Blox Fruits? It doesn't matter because I bet it's nowhere near as fast as this record. This is another record held by Newbie, who managed to finish a Magma raid with 9 minutes and 11 seconds left, beating the previous record by over 10 whole seconds. And if you're thinking about trying this one yourself, just know it's gonna take you many attempts.